All right, how we doing, everybody? The plan today is to talk about drink holders, and we've got a bunch of drink holders on the table in front of us here. You can see, and really the plan is not to pitch you anything, but we're going to go through the different types of drinks. You know, some with a tumbler, some with maybe a can and a koozie, and kind of show you which of the different drink holders work best with the different types of drinks. So with that in mind, we're going to start with some horizontal drink holders that I have in front of me. So the first one here is a King Starboard one that has a storage bin on the inside of it. And this fits with most of our horizontal drink holders in that it works okay with your cans.
When you say horizontal, you're referring to like a flat surface, right?
Sure,
so for
yeah,
an application, right? So you'd use it anywhere that has a flat surface.
Anywhere you have a flat surface that you want to stick something to. The
Perfect.
vast majority of these are suction cups. So
Okay.
I appreciate the clarification. And as you can see here, there's definitely some movement with a standard can. That's definitely one complaint we hear at boat shows with this part, and it works a heck of a lot better with a can with a koozie. Now there still is some movement, and that's because it's oversized a little bit to be able to accommodate some tumblers. So your bigger tumblers, I would not recommend with this. You can see, it almost wants to fall. It's not gonna fall, but it's getting close. And I would say similarly with your standard size tumblers.
You've got like a 32 ounce and a 20 ounce here, right?
Yeah.
So the standard sizes that are available out there.
So these work well for hey, I just want to have a place to store my drink when we're idling, or maybe this goes on a pontoon boat, to store really any drink. But if you want to run with it, you are going to have movement with this style drink holder.
Of course.
For if you're using a tumbler or a can. And there's a variety of styles. We showed you there first the Starboard one, but we've got a little bit higher end ones. This is a high polished acrylic. We've got a black acrylic, and these are available with a 3 or 2 or a 1. But
and they
again,
have suction cups on the bottom
they
too,
do.
Right?
Yep,
Okay.
suction cups. But you've got a lot of the same thing going on, right? Where, this is moving on you.
Same thing with
deal
the tumbler,
here.
right? You've got a lot of slop in there.
So that's something to be aware of for sure with all of these. Like I said, we had the triple, the double, and we've got it in white and black. We even have them in teak. Another option, which you'll see on a lot of dashes, is to just through bolt this. Now
Right
that's
through
different.
the fiberglass of the console.
Through the fiberglass of the console. But again, you've got the same limitations. It's not the best really for cans or tumblers. It's really best for cans with koozies.
Sure.
So you want to talk about vertical mounts?
Yeah, absolutely. So, same way, right? This is for a flat surface. This is going to go on and mount to the sides. We'll actually start with, some of the less expensive options that are out there. So this is a really cool one. It actually folds down and, gives you a little bit of a lower side profile when it's not in use. The really neat thing about this is it can expand, right? So we'll go through the same way that Andrew did and look at some of the different options out here. So again, this accommodates a standard can. Also, if you've got a koozie, you can expand this out a little bit more and be able to drop that koozie in there as well. So
it's pretty tight, huh?
See, that's pretty tight when it goes in. Make sure I've got everything all the way out.
There we go.
So again, good option for a koozie. As you go through the different tumblers, you're able to push this back, and it's got like a little ratcheting or little teeth that you can push in and collapse it exactly to your cup. So you can see that holds pretty tight.
It does.
As the boat's running, you're not going to have any issues. That's pretty good for a 20-ounce tumbler. The larger tumbler, you'll see here, it looks like it just sits up a little bit high where it starts to have some draft to the cup. Yeah. So as it's running, I don't know that this is a great option.
I would say that as we laid these all out and pulled these, this is one that I'm not a huge fan of because I think it feels a little bit cheap.
Right.
But it is cheap, right? It's kind of the pros and cons.
Cost-wise, it's the most cost-efficient option.
Sure.
But you kind of get what you pay for in some senses. So it works really well. If it breaks, guess what? You're not out $150 to replace it. Something like this is under $10.
Yeah, and I would say it's probably the one that, as I was setting it up here, and we were doing testing before we went live here, trying to see what fits where, that I was pleasantly surprised with just how well it fit most of them.
Right.
And it actually is pretty good value for $10, even if you replace it once a year, and fits just about everything besides the very large one.
Yeah, so, a couple of these we're going to go through are going to be more fixed or permanent mounting. We talked about suction cups with these and one of the fixed mounting options. These are going to be fixed. So this permanently mounts to either the side of a console, the side of the boat. Same thing here, right? This is our version. It's made out of Starboard. You're able to, drop in a simple cup holder, Likewise, this isn't great for a tumbler, right? You see there's a lot of play in there as the boat's running. It's really good for a can with a koozie on it, right? That's pretty tight. There's not a lot of room for it to move around. And then similarly with this, right, there is a little bit more room.
Yeah.
The nice thing with these cup holders, you can see it's recessed down here. So the actual can without a koozie drops in there pretty tight. It has a little bit of play there.
Mm-hmm.
But again, this is going to be permanently affixed to the console or somewhere on the boat using hardware.
And real quick, what you're describing there as far as the pros and cons, let me see that real quick if I can pop this out. That's true of just about any of these recessed plastic or stainless drink holders.
They're almost all the same size.
You're going to have the same, well, there are some smaller ones,
right?
But this has become dominant because of the dual depth, right, like you talked about. You've got the depth that drops down in. At this point, modern boats, almost all of them use this. We still do have some old ones on the website, so if you're looking for replacement smaller ones.
Yeah, actually, that's one of the most popular, replacement cup holders for the boat. These get oxidized from being out in the sun, so if you want to pop out your old ones, put in some new ones, you can get back to that natural white versus something that's yellowed over the years.
But to Jared's point, these work really well. I would say they work really well with cans with koozies. They work okay with the other three. They definitely rattle.
Okay, perfect. So another option that really is kind of the same as this. Recently, we've added suction cups to a white version of this. You can buy it in black as well. So that kind of gets rid of the ability to have to permanently affix it to your boat. If you wanted to add this onto the windscreen of the boat, really good option there. Folds down out of the way when not in use. Has the same ability to be able to expand and collapse to accommodate the circumference of cup that you're using. One that we're really excited about that actually permanently fixes. This is ideal specifically for tumblers, right?
This is my favorite. Yeah.
One of our engineers that work here, his dad has his cup on the boat.
Shout out to Marcel.
So he really worked on this and engineered this. Put a lot of kind of really unique ingenuity technology into this.
Turn from the side so they can see the.
Absolutely. So you can see right here, there's actually a little positive stop that presses back against the cup. So the really neat thing is this works both for the 20-ounce tumbler. You can see when you press it in there pretty firm. You have no issues with this moving whatsoever. Similar with a larger style tumbler, you press that in there, and again, it's not going anywhere when the boat's running.
There's no movement of that in there at all.
Right. So for the guy that does just grab a beer out of the cooler or a soda out of the cooler and has it in a can, this isn't going to work, right? You can see it's not designed for it whatsoever. Same thing if you've got it in a koozie, you've got a little bit better luck, but it's not designed for that.
Scary.
So this is something that's really cool. A lot of people have gone to the tumblers. The great thing about them is, again, keeps your drink cool while you're on the boat. You drink out of a can without a koozie on it. It warms up pretty fast depending where you are.
And now it's quite a bit more expensive, to be fair.
Sure.
I think right now it's around $40, maybe a little bit under that.
Yep.
Whereas that folding drink holder that we looked at is $7.
$7.
Right.
Yep.
Cool.
So another final option. This is something that's pretty cool from Tackle Webs. We do a lot of stuff with them from storage on the boat, whether it be for Plano trays. This is actually an adhesive back, so you'll be able to peel this adhesive off, place that on the actual boat, but it's two-sided hook and loop Velcro, right? So this can be removed, washed out if necessary. If you go and buy yourself some extra hook, you've already got the loop on here, so you're able to maybe move this around on the boat. That's a unique thing. This is actually pretty neat. It accommodates your larger style tumblers. That's not going anywhere.
That's good.
Same thing for the can, right? So it's got a nice spot for the can, and likewise for the koozie or even this style tumbler, it's going to fit in there and not really move too much. So a really good option. Again, depending on what you like from a look wise, this looks good. If you've got some of these extra on the boat for other areas, it kind of looks uniform, but this by itself, some people might not like that look if they're on a higher end boat.
Yeah. And again, going through this before, I was surprised. This is the first one, and we've got a couple more back there, some that might work, but this is the first one that I would say fits all four of these options.
Sure.
You do have, like you say, it's removable,
right,
but when you remove it, you still got the hook stuck to the side of your boat,
of
right?
course.
So there is that negative from an aesthetic.
Looks like duct tape or something. Sitting on the side.
I would say it's probably the least aesthetically pleasing, maybe tied with the plastic ones, just because these are very budget.
Right.
But yeah, super flexible in what you can store. So now I want to transition to showing some of these recessed cup holders. Give us a second where we do a set remodel.
So here, yeah, if you want to grab those, I'll grab these back here.
And the most common drink holders that you'll see are, like we said, recessed into the deck, right? So things like this. Almost everyone has seen this. It's exactly like the white one we were just looking at. I want to introduce something that's really cool that we're excited about, that we're starting to put into some OEM builds, and that is a much deeper one that's designed for tumblers. So go ahead and set a tumbler inside of this.
So you can see the smaller one, you've got a little bit of play there. You move up to the larger one here, and again, you're going to have that same play that's around the same size. So the neat thing is, one of our vendors we work with, they came out with this larger size. You can see that seats further down in there. Now you've got to have the clearance that's available, right? So if you only had clearance when you installed your initial cup holder, or circumference to cut into the fiberglass, because this is close to, I think, a 1/2 inch wider in width of the whole diameter. But again, a fair amount deeper, right? So if you don't have that clearance, this wouldn't be an option. I've seen a lot of guys that have taken and added these to the top of the console, and it looks really good on the boat.
Show them the larger one, because I think the larger one fits in there even better.
Absolutely, it's like it's designed
really
for. I mean, there's no tolerance in there whatsoever.
Yeah. So this is a really good part that's increasing in popularity. Jared did a really good job of talking through all the things to think about.
Sure.
But I would say two other things that have become really popular. This is probably over the last 5-6 years. It's not super new, but the idea of the rod cup combos. So here we've got a Mate series, which is the original one. They have both stainless and plastic. This is looks like maybe a 15-degree rod holder. But then we also have ones, and you can see this one is mounted from the top. They're screwed from the top. This is one from Gymlux. They have their version. This one's a straight one, and this one has a nut that screws on from the back. So for this one, you need to make sure you have access to the underneath side. But this is a really high-end way to get another drink holder and also get another cup holder.
Yeah, so we'll start with the Gem one. You can see, it accommodates a tumbler pretty well, right? It's not sitting in there very deep.
It does. I know, it scares me a little bit. I'm doing it pretty hard. Yeah.
So I mean, it does fit there. Again, the medium size or the smaller tumbler, that's not sitting in there very far as well. Again, it's snug, probably okay when you're running.
I would say that's pretty good.
Yep. Okay. So likewise, here's your can.
You're rattling.
You're rattling a little bit, and then here's a can with a koozie. So that is tight. Can't get that in at all, right? I mean that.
I'd go as far to say that doesn't
work.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, you do have the much thinner koozies, right? These are like the thicker foam koozie that we're using.
Yeah, I've actually got one of the.
Oh, but one of those.
See if that doesn't fit at all either.
But I'm thinking like those thin collapsible koozies.
Sure.
Might fit.
Like the neoprene style ones.
Yeah.
Yep.
So one other very inexpensive drink holder option, which is a little.
I'm sorry to cut you off. Maybe price wise, right? I mean, this is a really good option that Mate Series has recently come out with. Is that this would be a lower priced option. So rather than looking at something that's around $80 to $90, you've got a $20 option here from Mate Series as well. So there's we carry the Mate Series screwless, top mounting, as well as some of the others that are. This is a better option from a price standpoint, or a more budget friendly price standpoint.
Absolutely. So the next one I want to talk about is this the Rod Cup Adapter. It's a little bit hokey, and but it's very inexpensive. It requires zero customization to your boat. There's no drink holder. The idea of this is it just drops into any rod holder.
Right.
We have two different versions of it. One version for angled rod holders, and I mean both 15 and 30 can be accommodated by that. There's actually two different angles cut on this. One is at 15 degrees, the other's at 30 degrees, and we have a threaded insert that we've put in the bottom. So if you buy it, and I think by default we're rigging them up for 15 degrees, but if it turns out you want to use them in a 30, it's as simple as unscrewing this one screw, flipping it over, and screwing it onto this bottom size. I believe this is less than $20, probably pushing $20, but it's a very inexpensive way to add on-demand drink holders. Boom, drop them in your rod holder, and you're good to go.
You're heading to the sandbar for the day. You don't have rods on the boat. It's a great way to add extra cup holders to the boat. Very popular. Everybody who sees these when we're down in Fort Lauderdale comes by and says, "Hey, I need to grab a couple of those." So that's again very inexpensive way to be able to flip flop back and forth depending on what you're going to do on the water that day.
And it has the same limitations as all the other ones that use this standard profile cup holder, right? It works really good for a can with a koozie. It works okay for all the other three. So the last thing I want to show you is really cool. We're excited to introduce this. It's been in the market for about a year, but this is an adapter that makes your standard cup holders work really well with a koozie. So we designed it to fit this stainless cup insert that's really popular out there. It's on a lot of boats, and this thing just presses into place.
Right.
And now it sizes that hold down such that it holds tight on a koozie. So let's real quick do before and after, right?
Yeah.
Put
So
that
you can see here's your standard 20-ounce tumbler. You've got a little bit of play there as it wobbles back and forth, right? Once that comes out, you're able to drop this in and
it's
give
tight.
it a wiggle, right?
Yeah.
It's very tight in there.
Yeah, I mean, there's a tiny bit of movement so that it works with the other one.
And it does
but
well
it works very
with
tight.
the large one as well. So really, the only thing that I would say from a feedback standpoint, when we launched this, we were a little bit worried that it's going to accommodate most cup holders out here. And I'll show you a really good example. This one here, right? So it fits into the stainless version. It also fits in here. It's not as snug, though.
It's not as snug.
Right, so
Yep.
if you get it to where you force this in here and it gets trapped onto your tumbler, it may pull out. It's not perfect for one size fits all, but it's close, right? So it fits to this. One of the things we tried before the episode as well is you can see that it drops into this style that we were doing earlier.
Mm-hmm.
Go ahead and see how this fits in here, right? It helps capture a little bit, but it's moving around quite a bit. Now on the outside one, I think for one of them, we found that it fit, but again,
That's interesting because we were testing this on a different one and it worked well. That is the one challenge we have, is there are variants in manufacturers, even for this, right? So full disclosure, one of the issues we've had is everyone that's bought this loves it,
right?
As long as it fits. That's the problem. And I would say we've had 75+% success rate.
Yeah,
but there have been some people that have had to return it.
Absolutely.
The nice thing is it's cheap. I think it's
$10.
About $10. Might be a little bit above that now. I think we increased the price a tiny bit. But we accept returns. And it's a $10 item if you want to give it a shot. We also will make sure if it's not on there to add the dimensions of this standard one that it fits in really well, so that you can check against that. The challenge is that the variance between different manufacturers is so small on this, and that tolerance is very tight because this needs to be super tight. That sometimes it's tough to measure unless you have like calipers.
Right.
So, but this is a really cool, really budget way if you're saying, hey, I got plenty of drink storage, but I use tumblers and the tumbler stinks in all my drink holders.
Right.
This is a great solution for you if you can't recess your, if you don't have clearance for this one.
Yep.
Cool. So I think we have a last couple of more unique drink holders in the back that we want to talk about.
Absolutely. So let me kind of move some of this stuff out of the way so everyone can get a good look here. So really there's two other versions here that really didn't fall into the categories before. This one is a sea sucker version that's kind of got a gimbal here.
Yep.
The nice thing about this, again, it does accommodate most sizes. We'll go through them and show you a couple that it doesn't. As the boat's moving, this is going to help keep the drink in the upright position. So from a mounting standpoint for a can, maybe good to go overhead. Likewise, if you're hanging it on the side of your console or on the windscreen, it keeps that can perfectly balanced. It does work for a can with a koozie on it.
In fact, it comes with a koozie.
Comes with a koozie.
Comes with a koozie.
Excellent.
Yep.
Okay.
So
awesome.
it fits perfectly there with the koozie.
There you go.
Boom. Free koozie.
You can see that this is a 20-ounce tumbler. There's a little bit of play there. It's not as nice as the koozie, right?
But you got to remember, hopefully, a lot of that is eaten up in this movement right there.
Right. For the larger one, I did kind of notice it doesn't sit in there really well. And the fact that this is kind of a gimbal and moves, if it goes anywhere past the center point, it just flips forward. Yeah. So I would say for the guy with the larger style tumblers, there's no liquid in these, so we're not giving it a great real time experience, but that doesn't work.
Yeah.
So I think from this, it is, because of all that goes into it, a little bit more of an expensive part. If I'm a guy that's running a tumbler and I got this, I'd be pretty frustrated. If not, and I'm using a can, this is a really good option to be able to keep it so that as you're hitting different waves. The nice thing with this moving, you're not spilling liquid out of the top of your can.
One thing that's cool too, which I just thought of here as you were talking, is that is probably the only drink holder we have that you could mount on a slant and it work well. I can't think of any other one that would really work well. I mean, this one's tight enough that maybe you could, at a little bit of draft, but you couldn't do it here. Absolutely. Whereas that one, you could. So if you're putting it on the side of the console or somewhere, really anywhere on your console that has some draft to it, that would work very well.
Sure. So the last one is actually the RoboCup. This is something we've again had a lot of success at with. A lot of people when we're down in Fort Lauderdale, they're buying these from us.
It's a go-to, yeah.
The way this works is anywhere where you have a vertical stanchion or a T-top grab rail or bar, anything that's vertical in orientation, this expands. And I don't know if you can see it, spring-loaded. You can expand up to probably a 2-inch bar, 1.5 inches.
I would refer to the product page. We need to make sure that it's on there.
Sure.
Let me see if it is.
Yeah. So while you're going through that, this is unique in the fact that, again, it holds a can pretty well without a koozie on it. One of the things we did notice is that if you do have a koozie on it, again, this is the larger style foam koozie, it doesn't work.
It does not work.
Probably a neoprene one. Let me grab this one back here that I've got as well. Doesn't fit in very well, right? So it's not dropping down enough that I would feel good about running the boat with this on it. For the tumblers, you can press it down there. This has a little bit of flex to it. So you're able to move it down in there. It's not really going anywhere.
Yeah.
Same thing. It's not seating all the way down. I would imagine with this, you can press that down in there, and that works pretty well. I feel really good about that one. So, this is great for a large array of these, except for the larger koozie style. Another unique thing is that the bottom actually unscrews, and you can drop a rod in here. So you can see if you're using a spinning rod, the reel can sit here. The bottom will come out, and you can drop the butt of the rod all the way through. If you've got one of those fold-out camp chairs, you're sitting on the side of the camp chair, and you can throw a rod and a drink in it at the same time. Likewise on the boat. You probably aren't using it as much as a rod holder on the boat, but you can have 2 drinks side by side with it.
So let me see it real quick.
Yeah.
So one thing I wanted to add is that for anyone who's looking at this going, oh well, that seems dangerous. The spring-loaded's not going to last. You need to feel it because this thing is strong.
Tight.
I mean, it is. I've had people at boat shows not be able to do it, right? I mean, it doubles as a workout equipment, right? It is very, very, very strong. The other thing is it's got a lot of applications, whereas most of this stuff is very boat specific. I've seen this put on lawnmowers. I've seen it put on
barbecues,
golf carts,
right?
Barbecues.
The stanchion on the barbecue,
Yeah.
You can hang it on. So it's a pretty cool deal that you can move around to a lot of different things.
And it's pretty inexpensive. I'm not sure exactly what it is right now, but I think it's less than $30 anyway.
Yep.
So that is all we have. There's some other specialty drink holders that we use for things like wine glass holders. Maybe we'll do another segment where we talk about that. It's a little more specialty.
Right.
Let's see. We think we have a comment. What are the black straps on the RoboCup? It's a good question. We had to research that before we started, but we know.
Yeah. So, I don't know exactly what they're used for as part of the rod.
I think
the
we're saying they're
reel.
strapping down the reel.
Strapping down the reel.
Yeah.
That's right. So that's a really good point.
Yeah.
So as the rod's going to go out, so if you have a spinning reel, you drop down that rod in here, and the spinning reel, you would put it over like the offset of the reel so that it can't pull out of the cup holder.
Exactly.
Perfect.
Exactly. So that's
question.
what that's for. Great question. So really, we hope that this was valuable. The point wasn't to pitch parts. We really just want to help you enjoy your time on the water and get the right thing. The last thing we want is you drill a hole in your boat or mount something in your boat and go, son of a gun, it doesn't work for my koozie,
Right.
and that's how what I want to drink out of. So let us know if you have any other questions. We'll be monitoring the comments. If there's any other products you want to see featured, let us know. We really appreciate your time. Thanks, and have a great day.
Thanks, guys.